Hello everybody, welcome back to the Amazon European Masters. We're on for the second half of the second day of games here, and as you can see, there's been a bit of a swap up with the casters. Viper and Jamada here to bring you through the second half of today. Jamada, how are you doing? You excited? You ready to open up Group B?
Yes, I am. Group B has been a banger for a little while. Last split, we had X7 in it again with, who was kind of dubbed the favorites, but also questions around them in Carmine Corp. Not here this time, replaced with the other strong French seed. They're all strong, really. Of course, in LDLC. Not going to be covering LDLC just yet, of course, but still very excited to be opening up Group B because traditionally, it gives us a lot of banger games.
Yeah, strong game. We're going to be starting off with X7 Esports up against Anorthosis Famagusta out of the GLL. And Jamada, these two teams, I mean, everyone's looking at Anno and thinking, rough ride, but they did some work in play-ins. We'll have to see how they do as we move straight into Champ Select. Yeah,
we really will. I mean, the thing about Anorthosis to me, right? You look at this group, a lot of people will kind of immediately go, well, probably a bit of a write-off for them. But honestly, Anorthosis as a team kind of end up defying expectations a fair amount in-game, even if they don't necessarily procure a lot of results when it comes to main stage performances. They are such a strong team to be feared, even in their play-in stage, actually. That was a group where maybe you would kind of have them not making it into top two, right? JDXL, Red Star, the two teams in their playing group, kind of wiped the floor with them by the end of it. So they've already got the scalp of one NLC seed. We'll see if they can take it here today. Open up the draft, removing away the Yuumi. We're all glad to see that one. And Belveth, a lot of respect shown by X7, taken away from Daglas, tore apart JDXL in the playing stage with that pick. So we'll see what they decide to go towards as we continue sliding through these the band phase. Viego, Renard, nothing too out of the ordinary just yet.
Yeah, I mean, batting away champions that look very similar from X7, both champions that like to reset in team fights, like to do a lot of work, and then support's taken away from Kasing over on the X7 side. Of course, such a big name in League of Legends for such a long time. Gotta put some respect on the name, but this is leaving open a lot of the power picks in the solo lanes. Pipe being removed, another support. We could be seeing some premium action in the mid and top side.
Yeah, definitely could be. A bit of respect there to iLevi. Pulled out the Pike once in play-ins, and definitely a bit of a pocket pick for him. What we started to see in the finals of the NLC actually was just three, if I recall correctly, 3 Enchanter ban just directly to Kasing, get him off those Enchanters entirely. We'll see if he still goes over to some of the premium ones left up. But X7 are going to go towards that Aphelios straight away, but the answer is swift from Anorthosis. It's going to be the Azir and the Wukong. Very, very strong mid-jungle duo. You always know from the mid lane, you should have lane priority from the early stages, and Daglas will see how he's going to use that one. One thing I'd definitely like to highlight now with the Wukong being locked in, a potential Sejuani could follow here. Set yourself up for a very strong top side. Kind of depends on what X7 decide to respond with, however, because sometimes you may, of course, have to answer out depending on what they go towards. But when you see your mid-jungle on the opposite side, you feel like for X7, the choice is probably relatively simple. Don't show your cards just yet. Answer out those two roles. Going to have Tempt on his Ahri, and Viking now has the opportunity to pick up a jungler for himself.
I mean, there are a couple of supports if they wanted to show Kasing's here as well, in case they want to not lose out stuff like the Seraphine, maybe. The Lulu is available, of course, or the Karma. The Lulu is going to be that lock-in, so they do lose a little bit of priority on the junglers. Expect Anno to utilize that a little bit, but we'll have to see where they are going to pick up. Are they going to go for their own support or marksman, or are they just going to show top side?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you go towards the top side here, what that actually does is you can effectively split the priority that X7 have in terms of bans. Yes, they could still, realistically ban away to, AD carries or supports, but I think it's actually not too bad. We'll see what they want to go towards. Hovering over the Rell, it's definitely a speciality pick of Levi's, one that's very frequently banned away from him, removed away from him very, very frequently. Sees the opportunity to snap it up into that mobile bottom lane, and will take that opportunity. So Anorthosis now, I expect, will look to try and remove away some of Viking's champion pool, things like the Jarvan, things that can really get a lot of early agency going for these lanes, things that will sell, things that will look for engage right now, because X7 are definitely lacking on that front, and Vi also speaks to that tune.
Absolutely, taking him off stuff that can be aggressive in those earlier stages, as you said. X7, on the other hand, want to get rid of a couple of marksmen. It would appear Tristana being the first one taken off the table, of course. Pretty strong, pretty powerful pick in the later stages. Scales exceptionally well. Don't want to be giving that kind of opposition to the Aphelios, which has been prioritized. But again, there's plenty of power still on the table. Jarvan 4 also removed, and that realistically takes away a lot of the early aggression agency that Viking could have gone for.
Yeah, I think at this point, what you're really looking towards, maybe something like Lee Sin, Viego, Poppy. Poppy's actually a pretty strong option here, maybe. I think that's something that Viking will probably look towards. Kalista, another early sort of kill lane pairing with this Rell. But I think, honestly, Anorthosis is pretty happy to pick up the Sivir here in this particular instance. He's played a whole bunch of it. This player is most played champion, actually. And I think when you kind of look at what Anorthosis are running right now, it's a full kind of front to back look for engages with the Wukong, with the Rell. Just dive in on that bottom lane in particular, try and shut down that Aphelios as soon as possible. Now X7, I think we highlighted the Poppy. I think it kind of just makes the most sense at this point, right? You can deny away some of the engages. Trundle actually also works in that same facet. Won't have as much power ganking towards the mid lane, but definitely if you're trying to cause a little bit of early issue towards the bottom side, Pillar can be so disruptive for a demounted Rell or even the Sivir as well. Doesn't really have any dashes to work with, so I quite like this from X7. Just in general, one-to-one with that Wukong has a pretty decent time in that jungle matchup. Now for Chasy, I think just looking for the safest possible blind. X7 is still lacking true hard engage, so maybe, yeah, they just chuck him on someone like the Sejuani, the Ornn. When you already have the Trundle, would have also been a pretty safe top side blind. And I think for Adiss here, probably just go, you know, the response tank, right? Inside of that Ornn. Just because, why not? You know you're not really going to be at too much threat. And right now, I feel like you're kind of happy locking in this full scaling. You've got the Sivir, you've got the Azir, the wave clear is always going to be there. Even if you fall behind, you could almost realistically fall back on that every single time. So I like this for Anorthosis. They still have early options from the jungle, from the support role to try and find some early action, but also a lot of, you know, fallback scaling mechanics to sort of lean onto if X7 start to find some leads on the map.
And I mean, looking at that Ornn, when you already see a Trundle on the other side, you're in there against a Sejuani who does enjoy being up against the tanks a little bit, can feel a little bit bad in isolation and might look a little bit strange. But if we step back and look at the team composition as a whole, first 3-4 picks came through, we're like, yep, textbook front to back, that's all they need to do. They get backline access, they move forward quickly with On the Hunt. They maybe just need a slight bit more engaged to make that fully work, and the Ornn is perfect for doing so. So Anno have done what I like. I enjoy doing this. Fundamental League of Legends, front to back, team fight. You know what everyone's job is at all times. And when you're coming in as a team that, looking at this matchup, you'd probably favor X7 on paper before we got into draft, going for something that's quite basic and easy to execute allows you to focus on what you're doing as a team, the macro decisions that you make. So really, really happy with how Anno have done this. X7, they've got a job on their hands to take down this Greek team. We'll have to see if they can do it as we move on to the Rift for our fourth game of the day. X7 Esports out of the NLC on the blue side, Anorthosis Famagusta out of the GLL on the red.
Yeah, honestly, I'll be honest. Honestly, I'll be honest. There you go, guys. That's a nice English sentence for you. If you had nameplates off, I would really prefer Anorthosis' draft here. I think quite a few more early aggression options, as well as just, you know, strong scaling. Strong and consistent scaling, I think, is the key thing here. Attila could end up having a pretty hard time playing the game, depending on how some of these team fights end up playing out, right? If X7 can't get, you know, lane priority around neutral objectives so that they're in the river first, all of a sudden having to deal with the setup of, you know, boomerang blades coming out, having to check into fog against a Rell, of course, the Azir as well, providing a lot of choke control with the soldiers. It's really, really difficult for him to play this out, and he is going to be, you know, the core carry when you look towards those sort of 25 minutes fights onwards to provide a lot of the damage for X7 here. So I'm looking towards how they will try to funnel some resources into Attila's back pocket, because I think they're definitely going to need to have a pretty fed Aphelios to try and match some of that late game DPS, but still a lot of strong pick tools available to X7 that are in the Sejuani. I think they're definitely going to have to lean into that in the mid game.
It's already going a little bit aggressive, but this is kind of how Rell likes to play. We'll take a bit of poke on the way out from the double range. But for those of you who haven't been watching the NLC particularly strongly and just follow the European Masters, you'll know X7 obviously made it to knockouts last time around. This season it's been character development, I guess, throughout the split for this roster. Made some changes initially, and then halfway through the season, Viking came in, looked like a very good unit in playoffs, but then were reverse swept by Dusty. But we watched last game, we all know exactly how good Dusty can be. Very, very interesting team, and we'll have to see how they can go up against the Greek side that has a couple of the bigger names in the scene and could potentially look to, I don't want to just say upset games, but potentially even upset this group.
Yeah, I think there's definitely room for that. Anorthosis, definitely the kind of team that have the picks in their back pocket to do it. They haven't necessarily brought out anything too spicy here to date. But definitely catch you off guard. caught the other NLC representative off guard in their opening game in the group stages of play-ins. So keep your eyes on this team. I know it is a very stacked group. Of course, the Go Rogue in the Ultra Liga, they were, you know, probably the expected first seed, given their regular split performances, so dominant. Of course, the final shenanigans that happened did happen. They ended up in second seed, still Z10, worthy opponents in their own right. When you really do look at this group, it's effectively, you know, 3 expected first seeds. LDLC, the obvious team that did qualify in as the first seed of LFL. And then Anorthosis, of course, so and then through the play-ins, first seed of GLL. So a lot of strong teams, a lot of strong representation domestically from every team in their region.
And I mean, when we look at Anno as well, we had a chat with Cameron, who has a bit of information about some of these teams as we move forward in the tournament. But it's a GLL team that has some of the bigger names in the region, as we've already mentioned. We've got Dominant in the mid lane, who's played everywhere in Greece. And by that, I mean multiple different teams and multiple different roles as well.
I will adjust your point. He's played every role but top, because top is a useless role.
Oh, as we watch Chasy and Adiss just hang it out. But not only Dominant, he's not the only person that we need to watch up against Tempt, really strong mid laner. But when we were watching the play-ins and we were doing some coverage there, I managed to speak to Rev, who's watched some of the GLL this season, and he was saying Daglas, the jungler, he's been a massively important part, very talented guy, quite a young player coming through. So there's a nice mixture of this old dominant, because that's his name, mid laner, and this younger jungler who's one of the up-and-coming stars of the region. And you know what, I'm going to hold that point, because Viking is coming through, looking for Golden Toast, maybe looking to use that pillar, will slow and knock up. The splash is going to be utilized. Golden Toast will get away, but that Summoner's burn.
Yeah, nice punish there from Viking. You could see Golden Toast, Levi, they just wanted to get the wave in. Golden Toast was kind of battling off against Kasing there. Kasing holds his ground, and then Viking makes his way through that Tri-Brush. Golden Toast just overextended. I'm not sure what he tried to spell shield, make the Glitter Lance, hard to really tell, but using that Attila to get the flash on the chase down means that, honestly, very easy follow-up gank could be in the offing in the next couple of minutes. Daglas chased out, and to continue your point on Daglas, like you said, dominant mid, of course. Well, dominant. It's so hard to find words that aren't dominant to describe that man. But mid lane, of course. But Daglas also, he's a man after my own heart with him. Because he's also a bit of a Kane enjoyer as well. Now and again, he likes to pull that pick out. He said, his GLL side, no stranger to fling out some more unorthodox picks. Still, nothing here just yet.
I mean, we saw the Belveth bat.
Yeah.
Speaks to some of that style of play, but this tournament has already seen a few interesting picks, is how I would charitably describe them, I suppose. Shaco, Heimerdinger, what are you doing in my League of Legends games? I guess would be my question. As Adiss just going to be chased away by Chasy. Of course, Ornn isn't going to have the most fun time in this matchup because he doesn't really have the pressure to kill Sejuani. The damage isn't really there. But Chasy also would probably need a bit of assistance to do much more than just gain a bit of priority and have pressure up on that top side.
Yeah, what I will say is it's very possible to kill this Ornn once Viking has access to the subjugate.
Yes.
Speaking of level 6s, Tempt has his and he's moved down to the bottom side already. This is on Vision. I know are aware that this is going on, but what will the response be?
They're going to look to go and get something going under tower. Teleport comes through as well, but Tempt is dashing around, gets first blood already, and will look to escape. They find the route out down the lane. That's a very clean dive, and that's first blood X7.
Yeah, not only that, on the top side, Chasy actually interrupts Adiss's teleport. He was trying to get down to this bottom side dive. Maybe he could get something going with the Call of the Forge God. It just doesn't end up happening. So his TP also burned from Anorthosis. Really great dive from X7, very clean. He only get away with 1 kill. Definitely could have looked to potentially find 2, but they denied Golden Toast that wave, and that's the crucial part from that dive.
Anna just sending members up towards this mid lane, knowing that the marksman's going to take a little bit of time. No dragons have yet been touched, and this is something that we've seen a bit thematically, especially through play-ins. Teams not necessarily diving on those dragons as they come up. Of course, we have had those dragon changes, but let's have another breakdown of this dive, Joanna, because it just looked very, very clinical.
Yeah, I mean, it just is, right? Golden Toast, no summoner spells, the target focus is just on him. Chasy just being a bit of a nuisance for Adiss there. Interrupt that with the Glacial Prison. Yeah, dive itself, very, very clean. And like you say, interesting to not see X7 go towards that dragon. I think, of course, with the changes, the dragons it's a much bigger time investment than they were on 12-13. Backwards, since 12-14, a lot more health. A little less damage, but obviously because they take longer to kill, technically they can deal more damage to you. So X7 just decide to call it the end of the play there, and instead on the next wave bounce in, going to start this one up. And this time they will collect it as a get that wave shot in. This is just not having fun here. This is potential solo kill.
Ooh, the flash is enough to keep him off Chasy, and will be able to escape. But this is the problem with this Ornn pick up into Sejuani. You don't have the damage to burst through her. She's going to be able to just out-sustain, get that damage down, and potentially look for pressure and kills. However, it is Daglas on the top side looking towards that Rift Herald, knowing that Viking has just taken that Mounted Dragon. X7 on the bot side, though. A lot of time. Chasy could look towards Wukong. Pig versus Monkey. Who's going to win it? Nice dash forward. There's the Ignite as well. Daglas running away, but here's the pull of the forward squad. Keeping Chasy away. The smite comes through. It will be scored by Daglas. Will he be able to survive? No, he won't, but who will pick up the eye? Dominant manages to scrap through and get it, and Chasy in a lot of trouble. No mana, no health, no way out, as he is going to be cut down. The Emperor of Shurima picks up the eye and the kill.
Yeah, Chasy plays enough nuisance there, but the Herald still secured by Anorthosis. However, all the time that this is going on X7, just playing so well.
No flash on
Gold. Look at Golden Toast. They don't. Okay. All right, I'm just going to say this. That looked a lot funnier than it probably was. But I think because there's no vision in that rush, X7 probably didn't know that Golden Toast could have moved. So they just decided to not aggress any further. I think that's probably the core of what happened there, because they knew where everybody else was on Anorthosis. But still, look at this tower. It's taking such a beating. And we kind of underlined, right, that if Attila was to play the game, he'll need to be pretty damn strong. And X7, I think, recognizing that win condition, trying to deny Golden Toast as much resources as they can and funnel as much gold as they can towards Attila.
And this is a bot lane from the NLC, which is ebbed and flowed in general opinion. When it came in and it first was announced that Attila would be joining Kasing down there, replacing Nata, who had had a pretty strong time on X7. Everyone was like, cool, this is going to be amazing. Attila, really strong. They played really great. But then the first few weeks happened, and it was a bit disappointing, I guess I would say. As a lane, as I said, when I think the team started to develop and improve somewhat, they came back to being this and Attila, you know how good he is in late game team fights. He just needed a little bit more assistance getting there, and I think Kasing has really been a great enabler for not only him but for the rest of this X7 roster this season.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and I think I recall having a talk with Veteran at the very start of the split, right before it actually started, kind of just gauging strength for some of the rosters, the lineups, and he said, you know, X7 with Kasing and Attila in the bottom side, what you saw a lot at Giants was, as a duo, they would get exposed a lot inside of lane, and the way kind of around that was to remove Kasing from the lane entirely and just get him roaming out onto the map. This game here, though, you wouldn't have guessed that that was ever the narrative. X7 have really been doing a great job of playing around this bottom side. Kasing as well. It feels like over the course of the split, whilst he has, of course, naturally been on quite a few playmakers, has also just really been a big enchanter enjoyer this split. So many different picks. Janna, Zindian, of course, classic of his. Like this Lulu, of course. But I think playing around now the bottom side a little more frequently when they're not really in these lanes that can B2v2'd from the get-go really does enable, like you say, Attila to get to a point where he can be one of those strongest team fighters here in the RLs.
Keep my eyes on Dominant as well. Remember, he was the one who picked up the Rift Herald eye and not Daglas, so it ruins my classic question of where should this eye be dropped, because it's Azir, so probably mid. You've got to imagine it's Chasy and Adiss taking chunks out of each other once again. A bit of tankiness will help Adiss probably just walk away from this one, but Chasy is really giving it to him at the moment, dashing forward with the Arctic Assault and looking just to break him down. The ultimate actually going to be popped. There's the Ignite as well, and this is just a solo kill for Chasy.
So is this the point where we start, you know, swapping the titles? You know, you remember Ornn is like the tank, bruiser, assassin, warlord. Do we just swap that over to Sejuani on this patch? Because, man, oh man, so much damage coming out. And like you kind of alluded to earlier, this lane phase, it's not really pleasant for the Ornn, right? Sejuani has so many percentage HP damages through the passive, and through her own W, of course, scales that. And it's just not been a great time for Adiss so far. And that solo kill definitely highlighting that there.
I mean, Trundle hasn't even really shown his face up, which was going to be another big part of the problem, as Viking not going to be able to stop the charge alongside Tempt, but will prevent it from doing anything more than that. So a nice injection to Dominant there, but things are not looking hot around the rest of the map. As we said, Adiss struggling in the top lane. Daglas has really failed to get onto the map in any meaningful way so far. And the bot side, 24 farm up, 4 plates for Attila as well. Gold is starting to swing further and further. Yeah, colors well, almost stacked out. It's 1,500 lead for X7 at the moment, but we still got plates.
Still for another minute or so. Not sure how many more they'll actually end up getting. Like you say, that gold lead, 1,000 at the moment for Attila. I think really what you want to try and track is the second item completion for Attila in comparison to Golden Toast. That's where the gold difference will actually start to show, because right now Kraken Slayer is still completed. So they are, you know, technically, for all intents and purposes, at item parity as a hold that point.
Tempt might be in trouble. Stunned up, dashed away using that ultimate. Viking has caught Levi, who has to flash away, but is not mounted, so it's pretty slow. Viking can move forward to try and check it. Coming off through the woods, Attila moves into on the side. Levi goes down, and they're going to chase further. Daglas needs to dive away. Polymorph as he goes, though, over the wall with the flash. We'll see him out. Once again, except for pick up one, and they dominate the fight.
Yeah, and Anorthosis there, a little bit too split on the call. They tried to kind of re-engage, but I think the target focus just wasn't quite there. Different members want to go towards Viking, others try and finish off Tempt. Eventually, the X7 collapse is what ends up winning out with more numbers on the field. Once that win out on this exchange, they'll now pick up the second dragon of the game.
Get the reveal on what is going to be our Soul Dragon. X7 team that's going to have the priority over it.
Hell yeah, let's go. All right. Cloud Dragon got... No, I'm kidding. I'm not going to do it. If you were here yesterday, you might get the running gag. And, you know, I will say 93%, guys. It's smiling.
Unfortunately, I wasn't here yesterday. It was Hitfrain. Happy birthday, Hitfrain, by the way. 29.
Oh, yeah. He's old.
Do you know what is actually very sad? Just aside from the game, as we get a reset from both teams, I'm the oldest caster on EU Masters today.
Are you?
Yeah, because Gulberg and Duckling and you are all children. So...
Well, yeah, sure.
Which is pretty tragic for me. I'm not even particularly old, but...
Like, you are now.
With you lot running around, my back's starting to go. But moving back onto the game, we've got Addo's slowly but surely falling behind. Chasy might be in trouble though. He gets caught out. A lot of damage going down onto him. But look, he's just not really taking that much as he tries to walk away. Finally, the passive pops off, and that'll be enough for the shutdown. It goes over to Golden Toast, and that's a good person to pick up that gold.
Yeah, that's really crucial. I didn't actually catch how much gold the shutdown was, but earlier on, we mentioned Attila 1,000 gold up. That gold lead definitely going to be closed as Anorthosis. Just trying to control this choke here, try and deny X7 entrance, but you can see Attila on the top side. Viking
Tempt, he's overextended. He's gone down, dominant with the kill as they look to press forward. Viking Attila still hanging around. There's the Emperor's Divide. It doesn't catch anyone this time around though, but it is now a 3v5. Anno huddled around the objective of safety, looking to just secure themselves the second Rift Herald of the game, the second that they will have gained. It's going to go their way. This time around, Wukong does pick it up. The X7, a little bit sloppy, and Anno quick to capitalize.
This is quick to capitalize indeed. With that Herald, they picked up both this game. We'll see where exactly they get to drop this one. But you know, we spoke about how that gold lead may have closed a little bit. That's still 1.6k up, so I guess I'll rescind my previous point. Get a replay here of the exchange, the initial pick here onto Chasy, and he just buys so much time. And I think the thing of note really is that Anorthosis dumped so many spells into him as well. On top of that, you can see it's like 2, 3 almost or so get blown, just trying to take him down. Eventually he does fall, and you can see X7 try and make a re-entrance here, but I'm not really sure what Tempt was. He kind of just spirit rushes in, tries to dodge away, I suppose, from the Cyclone. Not getting very far. At that point, X7 kind of just not in any position anymore to contest that. Numbers disadvantage, really nice attempt from Dominant to try and shuffle in Viking, but very fast response on the flash key means that he's able to escape this.
I always enjoy the Sejuani main feeling of being unkillable and exceptionally tanky for like the first 2 seconds of a fight, and then things going south real quick. And Chasy doesn't even have the aftershock, which accentuates that issue. He's gone for the classic grasp of the Undying for the top lane, just to give him that extra bit of health and sustain up against the Ornn, who we all saw him taking chunks out of during that laning phase. But as you mentioned, Attila's still in a good lead. Took down first tower on the bot side, of course, giving him a little bit of an advantage, and now the top lane tower has gone the same way. So 2-0 when it comes to territory for X7, but they do need to keep themselves disciplined, because there was those couple of lapses that gave Anno an opportunity in. And as we talked about with this composition, if they can get onto a strong footing, moving into the mid game, moving into these bigger team fights later on, surely they're favored.
Yeah, you'd have to imagine so. We saw a hyper-scaling composition already almost make a massive comeback into Giants in that Z10 game yesterday. It's tooth and nail. Daglas is definitely eyeing up that opportunity there, and I was going to say, honestly, X7 probably with a small window with this item advantage from Attila, but Dominant's actually out on the map right now with Shadow Flame plus Illudens. He is really powerful. This Herald's going to get dropped in the mid lane. If that charge doesn't get stopped, it doesn't quite look like it will. That'll be tier 1 going down, but how will X7 respond? You can see the collapse starting to come through on different sides. How far will Anorthosis go?
Oh, they're just going to engage onto the 3 members in the mid lane. Chasy needs to be careful. Nice double knockup to keep X7's bot lane out of the fight. Tempt over the wall. Gets a lot of damage. Time to go through. Gets the first kill of the fight onto iLevi. Golden Toast huddling under that tower as Daglas goes low. Dives away, but it's burning. Will go down. Tempt on the side. It's a triple kill. What can he do? Dominant dives on top of him. Will he get the fight? Will he get the win? The Fox is running rampant and will pick up another. It's a 4th for X7. This time around, it's Attila who denies the quadra. The ball on the side, Kasing looking towards the last member, Adiss looking for him collapse, but it's not going to be enough. It's going to be another kill going on over. It's the ace X7. It's a triple-double as Attila picks up his second.
Yeah, Attila picked up that huge shutdown from Dominant. That was an excellent fight from Tempt. He finds target access after target access, picks himself up a triple kill. And Anorthosis just overstepped. You can kind of start to see the pincer come in from X7. Tempt on the bottom side, Chasy on the top side. But Anorthosis just overstepped, get a little bit too confident, it feels like. With that Sun Disc from Azir, the charge comes in. And you can just kind of see they want to go onto Attila, maybe get a second charge out of it.
But damage, man.
Yeah, it's Tempt damage to Sejuani's ultimate. Locks up Levi, and as soon as Tempt sees the opportunity to dash over the wall with the Spirit Rush, you can just see the reset start to come through. He's already hit multiple members with the orb as well, so everybody that goes down is just getting extra dashes, extra charges. Goes up on to Dominant here, and unfortunately for Tempt, it does drop, but Dominant able to at least trade one back. As it's Attila that unfortunately for Anorthosis picks up that huge shutdown. Already kind of emphasizing how far ahead Attila is 1-to-1 with Golden Toast, and how when it comes to the DPS department, X7 are going to need him to be accelerated. And accelerated he is at the moment. X7 got this Cloud Dragon. You know, they are a bit over 3,000 gold and they're on soul point.
5 minutes to play for that one, and Jamada will be running to the bookshop to grab himself a couple more Bibles if we do get to that stage. But Anno, things are seeming to slip away from them further and further as we move. Tempt, of course, with that monstrous team fight that could have potentially been as upset, but he might have overstepped. Needs to be careful as Dominant on the side just chases him away. Baron is on the menu. Are either of these teams looking particularly good to do that one? As Viking maybe looking for a catch, finds Rell who can jump over. Now she's slow. Daglas running as well. X7 on the chase, looking for the support. Can get some damage down onto Levi. He's going to explode with the ultimate from Attila on the side as well. Chasy is just doing a run back, taking on Golden Toast, looking to be on the hunt, but he's on the retreat as Viking smites him down. X7, 2 on each side. Now the look towards Baron.
Yeah, crucial thing is, observers, does Viking have another smite charge? Because he smited to secure that kill. I guess Daglas is being zoned out. He's in no man's land. The answer is no, by the way. So if Daglas was feeling himself, there would be no smite, but you can see Tempt playing bodyguard. Just a brief lapse in positioning for Anorthosis. We lose a couple of members. It happens on the top side of the map as Baron goes down at 21 minutes. And now X7 have the opportunity to crack open some of these tier 2s and advance towards the base. As we take a look at the replay, Levi demounted after trying to disengage. Doesn't quite make it to the wall to flash over. Just goes down to Attila's ultimate. You can see that side of the fight. Yeah, Chasy, very, very fed. Sejuani, Viking, you know what? You deserve that kill. You worked for it. You press your W key to get the movement speed to get in range. To press your smite key. So, sure, why not?
It's another solo kill for Trundle. Don't worry about it. But that's another classic. People ask me why I play Sejuani. It's funny. More than anything, Chasy is exceptionally strong, not really taking any damage, not really caring too much about individual members of this Anorthosis Famagusta lineup. As Viking now stepping forward with a pillar, catches Daglas' clone, but he's able to just jump away. This Baron buff is going to be... What are we looking at here? Are we looking to just take out the inner towers across all 3 lanes? Is there an inroad into the base potentially?
Yeah, so one of the pros about this Anorthosis composition, even though it's fallen quite far behind in total gold, is of course just the wave clear that Azir and Sivir can provide. So if X7 aren't super efficient with how they get these waves stacked in, you'll see Dominant and Golden Toast can clear away these towers quite quickly.
Teleport coming through.
Actually
It would be a 4v5. The damage coming on down. Viking being chased away, but Lima on the other side deleted by Tempt. As now X7 looking to take this one down. Chasy running forward, catches Adiss. Damage comes through, but he dashes right forward. Can't get a knock up though, as the pillar's a little bit too far away. He's taking a whole beating from Tempt, who's also hung up. Dominant looking forward, catches one, but it's only Kasing. As now Attila melts through. The Emperor's down as X7 chase forward. They've still got Baron buff, remember. They're looking to make sure that Anno have no opportunity to clear these waves, at least from this inner.
Yeah, and honestly, from Dominant, you understand the perspective there, and he actually mechanically plays it well. Just that Attila responds with the flash over the wall. Otherwise, he would have been shoved underneath that tower. Maybe there's room to be jumped on there from Anorthosis. Unfortunately, him going down, another core facet of some of that wave clear drops. And all of a sudden, X7 have a much freer time actually approaching these towers, taking down both the tier 2s mid and top side. This tower's dropping quite low in the mid lane. What's the response going to be again?
This is going lower, and Attila just melts through his health bar. The minion wave is still slightly there, so the tower will crumble. Base broken 23.5 minutes into this game, and X7 will secure themselves the inhibitor as well, backing away without overextending, and this game has looked very, very clean from X7.
Yeah, it really has. X7 just by the books, to be fair. See the engage. I think the idea is just try and play out this 4v4. Get the teleport in, maybe you get a nice little pick at the very start, play a numbers advantage, but it just doesn't happen for them. Unfortunately, he tries to find the knockup on the pillar, and honestly, if he finds it, maybe there's room to play the fight. Take a look at Dominant, look at Attila. He sees the angle for it. Just get that wall off a little bit sooner. He does get shoved underneath the tower, Attila, but Attila's reactions fast enough to flash over that attempt from the Rell mid laner. He will survive that exchange. And now with that, Anorthosis sit very close to a 10,000 gold deficit, a little bit under 8,000 right now. 30 seconds until the best souls in the game spawns up for X7. Go and claim that one. Baron buff, one off.
He's feeling himself a little bit, jumps onto Golden Toast, looking towards the second inhibitor as X7 are going to send multiple members down. We'll find the charm and the assassination. Golden Toast is dead, as X7 will be able to take down their second inhibitor tower of the game. The inhibitor laid bare as well. With no Sivir to help clear, could X7 look to do more?
They definitely could have played with the idea, but just playing a safer option. Go get the dragon. Go pick up that soul. Now that you have those two inhibitors to work with, go back towards the top side. Baron will spawn up again in a couple minutes' time. And with that, expect they'll just play off that one lane, let the supers do the rest of the work. Easy pickings for X7. Just a really clean game overall. Feels like to me, Anorthosis, we spoke about, the idea of the composition, just kind of waiting till you get to those scaling points. Hope that X7 don't execute too hard, but unfortunately, they kind of did. They just overloaded numbers into the bottom side time and time again. Golden Toast just couldn't play the game, it felt like, ever. And Attila getting so much gold, being able to play out some of these fights so well, just makes it so easy for X7 to make these 5v5s happen. And honestly, even though it's been, Attila who's been the resource focus, you really have to pay credit to the solo lanes. Tempt and Chasy, I think, have had a phenomenal game, opening up Group B for themselves, approaching their first win. Really great stuff from the solo lanes, really great stuff from the team all in all.
Absolutely, and when we talked about how stacked and strong this group is, it seemed like X7, who not first seed coming into this, will still have to play Rogue, Ago Rogue, and LDLC. A strong performance and a strong start is vital for their hopes of qualification, because at least one very highly valued team in their region will not be making it out of groups this time around. Of course, 3 out of 4 of these teams made it through 2 knockouts, and 2 of these teams made it to semi-finals last split. LDLC and they go Rogue and met in that one, and LDLC took the cake, but we'll talk about that one a little bit more as we move into our second game. But right now, X7 looking to close out the first one as Anno Daglas. His clone took an absolute wallop, but he was okay.
Daglas got hit by that initial ultimate, stayed CC'd, he dead. As X7 just playing a little bit slow here, that charm's going to connect onto the clone. But they kind of recognize, right? Look towards the bottom side of the mid lane. They're going to have to respond to the minions sooner or later. They will just turn their eyes towards the Baron. One's going to spawn up. And X7 will shred through this pretty quickly. Attila doesn't have the best guns in the world, but he is also a 3.5 Iron Aphelios, so it's not really going to matter too much. Now X7 can go and return back to the Anorthosis base and finish what they start.
Going to be trying to check out the enemy base, see a few of the sites. most notably probably that top lane inhibitor and then the Nexus itself. But whether they'll be able to break through. I know a couple of their champions, Sivir, coming towards that third item, hopefully in the next couple of waves. Is there a way that Anno can play with their backs to the wall long enough to survive this game?
I think it really depends on X7 and how they play it. I think they've been doing a really good job of kind of just finding these picks off of some of their longer range engage tools, charms, Sejuani ultimates. Attila going forward, apparently.
That's aggressive, but Tempt's dive forward and over the wall again. Gets a lot of damage onto Levi, but no assassination this time around. And the minion wave has been broken pretty much entirely, so a little bit of respite there for Anno as they can look to rejuvenate and reset. And it looks like X7 are going to do the same.
Honestly, massive win for Anorthosis, staving off this Baron up siege. X7 weren't playing all of the lanes, right? They were still kind of applying that same mentality of, all right, we have supers in mid lane and the bottom side. Let's just go 4-5 top. Really able to, you know, really fully utilize the power of the Baron buff. Spread the super minions, super duper minions, we'll call them, sure. And yeah, just a little bit of an overstep from Attila means that they have to disengage in Anorthosis now. Have a couple more minutes to play with, a couple more minutes to try and get some items underneath their belt. Dominant going towards that Lord Dominic's as a third item. Let's see if he can get to it, because right now Dominant is putting out some huge numbers in damage. At the very least, through Anorthosis, you can just kind of see it. So far, I wouldn't be surprised if he's dealing probably more than double anyone else has dealt so far on the Anorthosis side. He has to be alive to do it.
He is alive for now. We'll be able to just slide away from the ultimate from Chasy. Levi might not be so lucky, though, has to dive off himself. As X7 is still fishing, still prodding, still probing for that killer blow. As they continue to seek down this top line, Adiss throws down the corner forward. Got Daglas looking to get in, but the ultimate can find no one as Viking steps away, looking towards this tower now. Tempt, the damage is there, and they're going to start ripping through Anno's front line. The back line will also fall as X7 will take the ace, the base, the game. They take the lot, and that's a massive quadra kill. Tempt is the scumbag who steals away the Penta, but Anorthosis Famagusta, they took down JDXL. They thought they had the UK sus, but they're built different on the Isle of Man, as X7 will take the first win of the group.
Yeah, clean and clinical from X7. It's kind of what we expect from them typically. And it's best of one. They're not going to get caught off guard by anything too peculiar there from Anorthosis. Anorthosis came at them front to back, came at them, you know, book wide open. There was a lot to read from the draft, and they kind of just recognized, okay, shut down the bottom side of the map. Dominant's not really going to be able to have first move, it felt like, ever, despite what the Azir typically brings in that matchup. And X7 just continually overloaded numbers into the bottom side whilst simultaneously losing the 1v1 on the top side. It just felt like, to me, Anorthosis unfortunately didn't really have a strong lane to play through. Responding with numbers in kind to the bottom side felt like potentially it could have gone wrong, and they weren't really able to try and punish Chasy's over-aggression on the top side either. Even though they picked up the Heralds, they didn't really achieve too much with them, unfortunately. Chasy, again, another factor as to why Daglas denied the opportunity to pick it up. So I just think it was a really clean game from X7, recognizing the win conditions of, you know, Anorthosis, but also their own conditions, right? If we let this game go too late, Azir and Sivir are just going to out-DPS our team composition. We're going to have to rely on our picks if Attila isn't hyper-fed, and that's exactly what they did. They put all the eggs in that Aphelios basket, and they gave him the gold to carry, but also strong individual performances from Tempt and Chasy.
And he had enough money left over to join us on the interview, as we're going to be speaking to Attila, as you can see on the bottom screen. Attila, massive congratulations on a huge first win here at the Amazon European Masters. How's the team feeling about that performance?
First of all, thank you for having me. And second, yeah, I mean, we're feeling great. It was the first game so far, and I think it's one of the, if not the weakest team of our group. I think our group is really stacked, and it's a dangerous one because we should not be able to drop games against, like, for example, Anno and probably Rogue. But yeah, like, it's a good start. We played it slow and steady. Like, we have accelerated the game a little bit more, but it was fine.
Yeah, and talk to me about the group. You know, you kind of gave us a brief inkling into how you feel the group is. Obviously, Anorthosis, kind of, to you, definitely the underdogs. I think when you're in a Go Rogue LDLC X7's group, it's almost natural. But how are you looking at, you know, a Go Rogue and LDLC, you know, as your other competitors for this top 2 spot? You know, we didn't really see you guys lose too much domestically once you brought Viking into the roster. Obviously, the finals was the finals. Reverse sweep, that happens. But how are you guys feeling, you know, confidence side in this group with so many strong teams?
I mean, it's gonna be tough, obviously, mainly because I think we drafted probably the team that is like the main contender to win it all, right? Because they won twice LFL and they went to the final, just like to dispute a really good final against Carving K Corp. But yeah, I think everything's possible. I think the mainly best of ones, like everything can happen really. That's why I'm also a bit scared, like even about any team, like because it's just like best of ones. I don't like the format of best of ones, right? But it's just I think it's gonna be most likely to see who can pass groups. So far, I think LDLC should be the contender, but I won't be surprised if we pass as first seed because I see us as strong individuals and we can perfectly just take games from anyone. So.
It's really interesting to hear you say that. I mean, the final question has to be, Anno, of course, you've just taken them out on the Rift after they were part of the reason that JDXL didn't make it to the main stage. Is this revenge for them taking down your NLC co-team, or is it a little bit sweet to see a competitor that you played against and competed against all year get taken down by a team from a slightly smaller region?
Not really revenge. I'll say I really don't care about XDXL. I think they're like they were okay, really good before when they had like MNS, but ever since like they left, I don't think they really deserve to be on U Masters. So yeah, like I will have much more enjoyed bringing other teams from the NLC as third seed, so they will have like actually a good shot. But yeah, it is what it is. Like they got eliminated. If we did this to the team that eliminated them, imagine like what other teams could have done to them, right? So it's just like they should be thanking Anno for just giving them like earlier vacations because they will just be like ashamed if they were competing on U Masters right now.
Well, it's a good thing that NLC got 3 seeds because, of course, you are joined by Dusty, who are having a great performance so far in the group stage. Attila, massive congratulations on that massive first win and the amazing performance from yourself as well. And good luck with the rest of your matches.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day, guys.
Thanks very much. Fighting words from Attila there.
Every time.
About the classic rival. The XDXL always hits different whenever it's said. But let's have a little look back at that last game and just kind of check out what happened and some of the highlights from the matchup, because honestly, X7, they just look clean.
Yeah, they really did. There weren't really too many things to pick on here from the side of X7, right? I felt like they gave very few opportunities to Anorthosis. This was maybe one of the few that they did. Yeah, this is like the only part in the game where it was like, you know what? Maybe Anorthosis can try and fight this one out, but it was just strange decisions being made by Tempt there, trying to get through the choke that was being controlled by Anorthosis, trying to do what they could to contest this Herald. But I think that just kind of speaks to the confidence and how strong they felt they were at that moment in the game. And of course, this was kind of the big turning point in this game, where it really starts to feel like X7 were just going to hold full control of the game from start to finish. Massive Inferno moment, a lot of AoE from Tempt as well at the same time. I guess pick onto Levi and the resets are just almost always going to be there. Eventually Dominant does do his damnedest to make it a trade. He does end up picking up Tempt, but damage is already done. Just an overextension from Anorthosis means that, a little bit too much hype gives X7 the leeway they needed to continue to press on and snowball this game.
And I mean, there is justice in this though, because of course, Attila denying the quadra kill away from Tempt on the Ahri. A little bit later on, Ahri denies the pentakill away from the Aphelios. But it looked pretty cut and dried after this point, and for X7, it was just about closing out. And I was pleased to see that they weren't overextending too much. They weren't trying to shove for things that maybe weren't there. And even when a little bit of an overextension did come through from X7, they were very quick to cool it off, move back, reset, and go again, which that kind of discipline and that kind of level of play is what we need to see from a team that's so highly regarded, not only in their region, but in Europe.
Yeah, and I think the thing about this particular iteration of X7, especially when you compare it to, the spring version with Haru and Jaeger, is that it felt like actually X7 would make those overextensions quite frequent when they were ahead. They would get a little bit, it felt complacent, right? This version, however, with Viking in the lineup, with Chasy up in the top side, Attila as well, I feel like there's just so much veterancy stacked up as well, coming from the AD carry role, just kind of means that everyone is able to keep a level head and ensure that they're not doing anything too silly. And yeah, I think the gold graph kind of speaks for itself. Even though Attila had so much gold, he didn't do the most damage in the game. It actually ended up being Tempt, and that's not, inflated damage where it's like he's laning against the melee champion, so he's just, whacking away. It's an Azir. So, that was 24,000 real damage coming out from him. So really solid job from Tempt, as we typically expect from him domestically, showing up on the international stage.
Well, we're done with that game. We're going to jump to a short break. When we come back, it's SK Gaming Prime up against Media SA. But while you're in the break, you can listen to the Warner song of the day. It's Fred and Swedish House Mafia, Turn It On. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a few.